So I wanted to start off by saying I really appreciate what you guys do. I just found your page today. So I'm not really sure everything that's been posted, but I did want to share a couple of my own stories as a mother of three. So the first story happened more recently, and it involved Roblox. I've always heavily monitored my children's Roblox use. I even have a Roblox account where I used to go on there and I would play with them very often, just to kind of monitor things. More recently, my son, who is my youngest, is 7, started asking me if he could get the voice chat feature. And you can't just simply turn it on. You have to have a verified phone number linked to the account. So if anybody's kid ever asked them to verify a phone number on their account, they need to be very informed that this can allow them to turn on a voice feature, which makes things so much easier, especially for little kids who aren't good at typing. Now, my kids, I've always drilled into their head stranger danger, including other children. And I feel like that's something that isn't talked about a lot, is kids will trust other kids. And with today's technology, there's a lot of voice changing apps and AI. And on top of that, there have just been people that used their own children to get to other children. And I've always told my kids that. Trust no one. Anyone who's asking for your address or for more information, I don't care if they're a kid or not, because there have been kids that have helped their dads lure other kids to the van with promises of toys. And kids are more likely to trust other kids. So be wary of everyone. And I don't think that's talked about very much. And it should be. So my kids knew. And my son kept asking and asking for the voice chat feature. And he wore me down. I finally said, okay. Against my better judgment, I was like, all right, okay. But I told him, you're only to use it when mommy is around to monitor what's being said. And he agreed. So he had it for 2 days before I removed my phone number so he couldn't use it anymore. And that speaks volumes. The first day, a little girl asked for his address, and he knew not to even trust other little kids. So he came to me first to ask permission, at least, and I heard it. So I was waiting to see what he was going to do, so I could stop him if he was going to say. So I told him, I took him aside. I said, no, do not give anyone your address. You know that even kids can be linked to an adult, or they can be an adult themselves pretending to be a kid. So no, absolutely not. He said, okay. And I really drilled it into his head not to give his address out. But I thought maybe it was innocent. Maybe it really was a little girl and she just wanted to have a play date. Because kids are innocent and they don't think, in that way. So I gave it another chance because, again, I'm always there to monitor it. But the amount of kids on there that are not monitored at all is so alarming. So the next day, he's playing. I'm in the kitchen, which is very close to where the computer is. And I hear him playing with a bunch of little kids. And they're all laughing and having fun. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. He's socializing. It's summer break, so he's getting to talk to other kids. And I hear, all of a sudden, a much older kid, definitely a teenager or even young adult, pop on. And I hear him saying something to a little girl. And he starts saying, hey, what's your address? And asking the little girl for her address. And my son speaks up and says to the little girl, no, don't give him your address. Don't give him your address. And I'm listening and I'm like proud of him, like, oh good, he's helping the little girl. Because I was about to step in. But the little girl left the chat because Jackson kept saying, don't give him your address. And the little girl left. And then I heard the guy say, hey, where'd that little 9-year-old girl go? And he was looking for her. It was very creepy. So a couple more minutes go by, and then he starts asking my son for his address. And you can clearly hear that my son is a 7-year-old, right? Like, he's definitely a little boy. All the kids on there were definitely very young, 10 and under. You could hear it in their little voices. And this guy starts asking my son for his address. And my son is saying, no, I'm not giving you my address. I'm not giving you my address. And I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, he's doing the right thing. And this kid keeps asking, and I'm trying to see how this would play out. Excuse me. Anyway, so then he starts going from asking to trying to bribe my son. At this point, I'm standing right there next to my son, and I'm shaking, and my son is starting to shake because he's now seeing what I have drilled into their heads for years playing out before him. It's like, now you believe me, you know? I've been telling you for years, and now you're seeing it. Maybe it was a good thing it happened, in a way, because it showed him that mommy isn't just paranoid. There are so many people out there that would take advantage of little kids and hurt them. And he starts saying to my son, well, I'll send you something. I'll send you a gift. And my son's saying, no, I'm not giving you my address. And then he says, what do you want more than anything in the world? I'll send it to you. At this point, I chime in and I say, I would very much like for you not to be a creep and ask my son his address. So we kind of go back and forth. And we're getting into it a bit. And he's like, ma'am, I'm only 15. I said, good, then you're old enough to know how creepy you are asking little kids for their address. No, not asking, harassing and bribing little kids for their address. So we went back and forth a bit. And I told the other kids, don't give creeps like this your address. It's a bad idea. And I told my son to get off of the server, and he did. And he starts crying, and he says, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I believe you. I don't want voice chat anymore. I said, no, you weren't going to have it, so it's a good thing you don't want it anymore, because immediately I went and took my phone number off of there, because even with me monitoring it, in 2 days, both days, he had someone asking for his address. Like I said, the little girl the first time maybe just wanted a play date, because kids don't see things like adults do. But I don't know. I don't know that. And like I said, kids need to be wary of other kids, and that's not talked about enough. Even other kids can be not what they seem. And like I said, we were both kind of shaking at this point, because it was very scary how pushy he was. And he said he was 15, but something tells me I think he was a little older. He definitely sounded about 14 to like 22, 23. I would not be surprised if he turned out to be 17, 18, 19, but said he was 15, so it didn't sound as creepy. Doesn't really do you much of a favor. 15 is still creepy. But, so that's my Roblox story as of about 2 weeks ago. And it was very scary to witness it. I mean, I was shaking, and my son was crying, and he believed me then. Mom isn't just a buzzkill. I'm not just telling you no to take away your fun. I'm trying to protect you. And now you see why I say these things. So that was the first story.